Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Bhagavad-Gita as it is. Chapter 6, text number 39. Page number 309. Etan me samshayam Krishna.
Etan me samshayam Krishna.
Chetum arasi achesha sataha. Tadanya samshaya shasya. Chetanahi upapadayate. Word for word. Etat, this is. Me, my. Samsayam, doubt. Krishna, O Krishna. Chetum, to dispel. Harasi, you are requested. Sheshataha, completely. Tvat, and you. Anya, other. Sanshayasya, of the doubt. Asya, this. Cheta, remover. Na, never. He, certainly. Upapadyate, is this to be found? Purport. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. This is my doubt, O Krishna. I ask you to dispel it completely. But for you, no one is to be found who can destroy this doubt. Purport. Krishna is the perfect knower of past, present, and future. In the beginning of the Bhagavad-Gita, the Lord said that all living entities exist even individually in the past, they exist now in the present, and they continue to remain individual identity in the future, even after liberation from material entanglement. So he has already cleared up the question of the future of the individual living entity. Now Arjuna wants to know of the future of the unsuccessful transcendentalist. No one is equal to or above Krishna, and certainly the so-called sages and philosophers who are at the mercy of this material nature cannot equal him. Therefore the verdict of Krishna is final and complete answer to all doubts, because he knows past, present, and future perfectly. But no one knows him. Krishna and Krishna conscious devotees alone can know what is what. Om Aryanatravandasya Janasya Sakaya Sakshurimitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam. Abhutam Vijna Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagapare Gopisha Gopikanta Radha Kanta Taptat Kanchana Gaurangi Haribinarishwari Vishabhanusute Devi Panchakopya Tribhyasta Kirsindu Revita Anam Bhavneyo Vaishnavyo Namo Naha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna Rama Translation once again. This is my doubt, O Krishna. I ask you to dispel completely, but for you, no one is to be found who can destroy this doubt. So here we have a series of verses 37 through 45. What is the destination of an unsuccessful yogi? So, 37 says, Arjuna said, O Krishna, what is the destination of an unsuccessful transcendentalist who in the beginning takes to the process of self-realization with faith, but who later desists through the worldly mindedness and thus does not attain perfection in mysticism? Text 38, Almighty armed Krishna, does not such a man who is bewildered from the path of transcendence fall away from both spiritual and material success and perish like a riven cloud with no position in any sphere? In today's verse, this is my doubt, O Krishna. I ask you to dispel it completely, but for you, no one is to be found who can destroy this doubt. So this Bhagavad-Gita was spoken on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Two armies are arrayed. One side is the Kurus, one side is the Yadus. One time, Krishna was taking rest in Dwarka. He was lying on his back. Because Krishna comes, he acts like an ordinary human being. So Krishna was taking rest, and Duryodhana came, was sitting next to his side. And Arjuna came and was sitting at his feet. So when Krishna opened his eyes, he saw Arjuna first. So he said, Arjuna, it's very good that you've come. How can I help you? But then Duryodhana protested, said, I came first, so you should ask me what I want. So Krishna said, okay, what do you want? Well, Duryodhana said he wanted Krishna to be on his side. Well, Krishna gave him a choice. You can have me on your side, or you can have my armies on your side. So Duryodhana, being a atheist, being a bad person, a non-believer, couldn't understand who Krishna was, so he thought it was better to have Krishna's armies. And then Krishna took the side of the Pandavas and became Arjuna's chariot driver. And Krishna made a vow that he would not take up any weapons in the battle of Kurukshetra. Because chariot driver was a menial position. You wouldn't expect Krishna to do that. But since he's playing the role of the ordinary human being, he does ordinary things. And chariot drivers are very vulnerable. They're the first ones that get killed in the battle between chariot drivers. So Krishna took that position as chariot driver, and then Arjuna requested Krishna to put his chariot in the middle of the battlefield, the Kurus on one side and the Yadus on the other side, the Pandavas. And then Krishna spoke the Bhagavad-Gita, which is the 5th chapter of Mahabharata. Of course, everyone was waiting for the battle. So Prabhupada said it took about only 1 hour for Krishna to speak the Bhagavad-Gita. When we chant the slokas in Bhagavad-Gita, it takes 2.5 to 3 hours. Somehow, Krishna spoke the Bhagavad-Gita by his mystic power, the arrangement of Yoga Maya. He was able to speak the Bhagavad-Gita very quickly. So the soldiers didn't have to wait a long time. When you have to wait, you go to catch a flight, an airplane, or you go to the doctor. If you have to wait for some time, you get an anxiety. So Krishna spoke very quickly. And then he spoke this 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which is Dhyana Yoga, or about Astanga Yoga, practicing yoga. So, this is Kali Yuga. In Kali Yuga, it's not possible to practice this kind of yoga. Although people do yoga in the big cities and think they're practicing yoga, or they sit down on the floor very straight, close their eyes, and try to meditate on nothing. But you always have to think of something. Nothing is not possible to meditate on nothing, because nothing is also something. So it's foolishness. They don't have any control. The first qualification to practice yoga, you have to have full control of your senses, you have to practice celibacy, you have to be free from fear. And the yogi has to go to a sacred, secluded place, a quiet place, not in a big city. So yoga, it's not possible to practice yoga in a big, crowded, noisy city. And no one is free from fear, and no one is practicing celibacy. So they are only making the show of yoga. But the word yoga means to link with the Supreme. So the real goal of yoga is to establish our relationship with Krishna, or understand our constitutional position, Javer Subhai Nitya Krishna Das, and to develop our love for God. This is the real business of yoga. So it's these yogis that Krishna is describing here, they're meditating on Paramatma. They can become Paramatma they realize Krishna in the heart. Bhad bhavanam janmanam ante gyanavanam prapajante vasudeva savamiti samahaba sudurlabha. After many, many births, one may take to Krishna consciousness or practice yoga. But such a great soul, samahama sudurlabha, is very rare. So Arjuna said, no, I can't practice this because I can't control my mind. To practice yoga, you have to control your mind. If your mind's here and there, wandering everywhere, and you can't fix your mind on Krishna, you can't fix your mind on Super Soul. So Arjuna said it was impossible to control the mind. It was like trying to stop the wind with your arms, or trying to catch a wild animal like a tiger by holding its ears. So the mind is very chanchalam, flickering and unsteady. The unsteady mind is the worst enemy of the living energy, but the controlled mind becomes its friend. So our mind will tell us to do something, and our intelligence will tell us to do something else. They had one television program. One side was a man with a halo and wing looking like an angel, and he was on one side of the man, and the other side was a man with a pitchfork looking like the devil. Whenever the man had to make a decision, he got consultation. One side was his intelligence and one side was his mind. So his mind would say one thing and his intelligence would say something else. So sometimes the intelligence says one thing, but the mind overrides the intelligence. Like sometimes there's a feast and we don't feel hungry. So our intelligence says is we shouldn't eat the feast because we're not hungry. But our mind says we should eat the feast because we shouldn't miss it. It looks so nice. So where the mind overrides the intelligence, or so many different ways we get trapped by the mind. And instead of listening to our intelligence, but intelligence is higher than the mind, higher than the mind is the soul. So to be successful in yoga, you have to control all your senses. You have to be determined. It's not an easy thing. And meditation, yoga was for in different age, in Satya Yuga, where the sages, where people lived for 100,000 years, and most of the people were already God conscious to some extent, practicing Krishna consciousness. But even then we have examples of Vishnu Muni, who was practicing yoga for 60,000 years. But Indra becomes worried when someone's getting very powerful. So Indra sent Menaka, a society heavenly girl, to make him break his meditation. And just by hearing the sound of her ankle bells, he opened his eyes, he saw her, and as a result, he had a child. As he broke his meditation, he was unsuccessful in his yoga practice. Sabara Muni was meditating for 10,000 years underwater, and he had committed an offense to Garuda. Garuda came there and ate the king of the fish, and so Sabara Muni cursed him, said, if Garuda comes here, I'm going to kill him. So that was a offense, Vaishnava aparad, Vaishnava interference. So Sabara Muni was meditating for 10,000 years underwater, but he saw two fish who were having sex. He became agitated, and he came out of the water and went to Mathura to see King Mandata, who had 50 daughters. So Sabara Muni said, I want to marry one of your daughters. The king said, well, my daughters can choose anyone. They can marry anyone they like. But Sabara Muni had been underwater for 10,000 years, and his body was all wrinkled and old and ugly looking. So first, by his mystic power, he had to give himself a nice, beautiful young body. And then all the queens, he married all of them, 50 queens, and he had 100 children from each one. That's 50 times, 100 times 50, what's 5,000, right? So he had a lot of mouths to feed. But at the end, when he got old, he renounced his family. Him and his wives went to the forest and perfected their lives. So sometimes this happens. Bharat Maharaj, he was practicing yoga. He was became so advanced in his yoga practice that he was exhibiting all the ecstatic symptoms, hair staying on his body, tears flowing from his eyes, shivering. So he gave up his kingdom. The whole world is named after him, Bharat. And he was opulence and family, had so much material wealth and opulence, but he was able to leave it. It's like when someone goes to the bathroom, you don't stick around, you just do your business and get out. So he was able to do that. Renounce his kingdom, renounce his family, renounce his animals, renounce his treasury, renounce everything, and go to the forest and continue with his meditation. But unfortunately, when he was meditating, one day a female deer was pregnant, heard the roar of a lion, and she had a miscarriage. She gave birth to a child, baby deer, but she died. And Bharat Maharaj rescued that baby deer from the river and was taking care of it. So he became attached to the deer and eventually forgot about his yoga practice. But seemingly he was not successful in his yoga practice, even though he was in an exalted position. But when he left his body, he was thinking of deer. He had to take a deer body, but by Krishna's arrangement, since his fall down was sanctioned, was for his betterment, for his advancement in Krishna consciousness, even though he had a deer body, he still could remember his past life's activities, and therefore he made sure he didn't get into any bad association, and then in next life he became Jad Bharat and became a self-realized soul. So then he perfected his yoga practice. So in this way, the unsuccessful yogi who tries to practice this kind of yoga, it's very troublesome, very difficult, and general mass of people can't do it. So Arjuna is asking Krishna to dispel his doubt what happens to such people, unsuccessful yogis. And he says only Krishna can dispel his doubt, because Krishna knows past, present, future. And of course Krishna is omniscient, omnipotent. He knows everything, past, present, and future. So the unsuccessful yogi, in Kali Yuga, Harinam, 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 Eva Kevalo, Kaluna, Stevana, Stevana, Steva Gatir, and Yata. So the practice in Kali Yuga is the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, or the practice of bhakti-yoga. So there's two kinds of yogis. The Astanga yogi who is trying to realize this super soul, and there's the bhakti yogi, or those who take to devotional service. Bhakti means devotional service. And Devidu Sabhakatim Hi Vishnu. The goal of bhakti is to go back home, back to Godhead, and not have to take birth again in the material world. So sometimes people take to Krishna consciousness, but they're not really serious. So they stay for some time, but then they end up leaving. And sometimes, because Krishna consciousness means we're declaring war on Maya. Maya is very strong. Daivesha Gunamayi, Vama Maya Duratgaya. So you're declaring war on Maya, And Maya's job is to keep everyone bound up in the material world. This is a thankless task. Durga Devi, she's a devotee of Krishna. People worship Durga to get material benefits, and they kill animals, offer animal sacrifice to Durga. But she doesn't accept those things, and she doesn't accept these people as her devotees. These things are accepted by lesser beings, her associates. So Durga means fort. The whole material world is a prison house, and Durga is keeping everyone bound up in the material world. So when you become a devotee of Krishna, you're declaring war on Maya. And so if you're serious about getting out of the material world, practicing Krishna consciousness, then Durga will help you become Krishna conscious. By Yoga Maya's arrangement, she'll help you. But if a person wants to disturb Krishna, someone may be proud says some people may wear tilak and dress like a devotee, have sika, but they're actually Kali Chelas. They're not serious. They come to Krishna consciousness to get some material benefit, to get some wealth. They steal some money and go away. So, if one wants to serve Krishna, then Maya will help you. If you want to disturb Krishna, then Krishna will take you away. So that's why many times people come to Krishna consciousness and they don't stay for a very long time. But the whole thing is, Krishna says, Sarva Dhamma Parikshaja Mamekam Saranam Vraja Ham Tam Saram Pavanayo Moksha Shama Suchaha. You have to surrender, be a surrendered soul. So Krishna devotees Prabhupada said his disciples, one problem was disciples were not afraid enough of Maya. And when Bhaktisiddhanta left the planet, he didn't appoint anyone as the next acharya. He told them to organize a governing body and cooperatively preach Krishna consciousness. Unfortunately, they didn't follow his instruction, and they elected someone as the acharya, and he was not on an Uttama Adhikari. There's the Kanista Adhikari, the Madhyama Adhikari, and the Uttama Adhikari. The Kanista Adhikari has very weak faith, is not very strong. He doesn't know the Shastra very well, and he's vulnerable to being allured by the material energy. The Madhyama Adhikari, has love for Krishna. He may not be able to quote the Shastra, but he preaches to the innocent and avoids those who are atheists or unfavorable or don't want to hear about Krishna. So the Madhyama Adhikari, he's a more fixed up position, and there's less chance that he will fall into Maya. But the Uttama Adhikari devotee, he's on the spiritual platform. He's under the influence of Yoga Maya. He can't even think of anything but Krishna. And he sees everything in relation to Krishna. If he sees a tree or sees a car, sees anything, he sees it as Krishna's energy. So the Uttama Adhikari, he can't fall into Maya. But he can't preach either because he sees everyone as a devotee of Krishna. And if you see everyone as a devotee of Krishna, then you can't make distinction between those who are inimical, those who are favorable, and those who are not favorable. So the Uttama Adhikari, he has to come down to the level of Madhyama Adhikari. It doesn't mean he diminishes his spiritual position. He's still the Uttama, but he has to discriminate. If the audience, if you go to many preaching programs, if the audience is not favorable, if the audience doesn't want to hear about Krishna, then we can't preach to them, because that's offense to the holy name, to preach the glories of the holy name to the faithless person. So in either case, the Uttama is always totally fixed up in the Krishna consciousness. One devotee when I joined the temple in Los Angeles, everyone thought he was very fixed up. They used to use that word, fixed up. But it's because he gave very nice classes, and he spoke very nicely, and he led very nice kirtans, and he was managing everything, GBC president. So everyone glorified this person as being a very advanced devotee. Unfortunately, after 1 year, he was no longer in the temple, and it turned out that he was not chanting his 16 rounds every day. So even though everyone thought he was fixed up, he was not following the sadhana. So Rupa Goswami tells us in Nectar Devotion, one's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in 6 activities, eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required. So we should just eat enough to maintain body and soul together. And Lord Chaitanya told Raghunath Das Goswami that you should not eat very palatable foodstuff. Devotees in general should eat simple prasadam, so on feast days, or they can eat honor the Maha prasadam. Should not collect more funds than required. The devotee should only take what's necessary to maintain body and soul together. The householder, whatever money he gets, he should give 50% of his earnings to the Krishna consciousness movement. Fortunately, people find it hard to do that in this age because everything's so expensive. So, but one should not unnecessarily collect funds and keep a big bank balance. Over endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to attain. That's like building a big house or something that's not really necessary. Talking unnecessary about mundane subject matters. We should not talk pajapa. Also, Lord Chaitanya told Raghunath Das Goswami that you should not hear this village talk, the Granya Gata. So, the tongue is there, and the tongue is meant for Vacha Begam, Manasakroda Begam. The tongue is meant to be only for tasting Krishna prasadam and talking about Krishna conscious subject matters, Krishna conscious activities, and nothing else. So we should try to avoid talking about mundane things which don't have anything to do with Krishna consciousness. Practicing the rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for spiritual advancement. Or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures, working independently or whimsically. So we're practicing Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, so we have to follow the rules and regulations. Wake up early in the morning, come to Mangalarti, chant 16 rounds, follow the 4 regular principles, no eating, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex. We have to attend the Guru Puja, attend the class, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam every day. Nasta Prayashu Abdeshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, all this troubles from the heart becomes cleansed away. But it takes a long time to cleanse the heart of sinful people, especially those who were born in the West and came from sinful backgrounds. So they have to continuously hear and we should hear it with rapt attention. In this way, we'll get the benefit of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Associating with worldly-minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. So we don't associate with worldly-minded persons, but the devotees go out every day, distribute Srila Prabhupada's books, and they meet people, worldly people, who are, some people are not interested in Krishna consciousness, or they don't know anything about Krishna consciousness. But we're not associating with them. We're giving them our association. We're asking them to take a book and become Krishna conscious. We're not interested in what they think or what they have to, what their ideas are, because materialistic persons are only interested in sex life and satisfying their senses. They're not interested in anything else. So the Krishna conscious person, we have to be careful, and we approach people on Sankirtan on the street when we give them books, that we don't get involved with any mundane conversation, but we only give them Krishna consciousness as much as possible. And being greedy for mundane achievements, this is called pratishta, or subtle sex life, wanting name, fame, profit, adoration, distinction. This happened when after Prabhupada left the planet, 11 of the GBCs were appointed the gurus, and they weren't careful about this. When you become a guru, then you start accumulating wealth and start accumulating followers, and it becomes dangerous, and your Krishna consciousness can be spoiled. So most of them were not able to maintain their Krishna consciousness because they became greedy or wanted name and fame. They weren't on the Uttama Adhikari platform. They still had material desires, material interests. So, because Maya is very strong, they were not able to stay Krishna conscious. But, however, Arjuna wants to know about unsuccessful yogi, and even though people take the Krishna consciousness and leave Krishna consciousness for some time, if someone has a taste for the lotus feet of Krishna, they can't forget Krishna consciousness. Because once you have to have taken the Krishna consciousness, even if the people fall away for some time, eventually they will come back to Krishna consciousness. Because there's no real pleasure in the material world, dukaya lama shashvatam, sabrahma bhuvana loka, from the highest planet down to the lowest, are places where misery and suffering take place. So no one can really be happy in the material world, no matter how much they try. No matter how much money you have, how many cars you have, how many houses you have, how much you have in your bank balance, these things don't make people happy, even though they think it will. And people get married, they have a beautiful wife and children, and they think they're going to be happy. But there's no happiness in family life. Anybody that's married, you can take a poll and find out if anybody's happy in family life. In the 5th canto of Bhagavatam, Bharat Maharaj tells King Ruguna, there's no happiness in family life. And it's nothing but troublesome. And the man works so hard, and when he becomes old, he can't get any money anymore. Then the family don't like him anymore, and they reject him and they mistreat him. So what is the value of that? No value. So a man gets married, and he forgets his real business. Sukadeva Goswami would go from house to house, and when it was time to milk the cow, he'd stay long enough for milking the cow, and he'd preach to the householders. Because the householders are poor-hearted, which means that they think that family life is their first business. Maintaining the family is first business, and spiritual life is the second business. But everyone comes in this world with nothing, and at the time of death, the family will not save you, the bank balance will not save you, nothing, the doctors can't save you. Rake Krishna Marike, Mare Krishna Rakeke. If Krishna wants you to die, no one can save you. If Krishna wants to live, no one can kill you. So, but at the time of death, you can't take anything with you. So in the middle, people will come in this world, take birth, grow up, and spend so much time working uselessly, laboring hard, and for nothing, because they can't take anything with them. And Krishna says, Yam yam vapi smaram bhavam, whatever you're thinking at the time of death, that you will attain in your next life. So here in this purport it says that we're always individual, and we always have a form. So at the time of death, you will be either go to Yamaraj, he will judge you and decide what your next body will be and what your next situation will be in life. So the cycle of birth and death is bound up, the living entity is bound up in the cycle of repeated birth and death. Dehinosmin yata dehe kumaram yavinam jara tatadeyan drapaptir diras tatra namuyate. From boyhood, youth, to old age, death, the soul is transmigrating from one body to the next, the next, the next. So you always have a body and you always have a form. So the purpose of Krishna consciousness is not to stop this cycle of repeated birth and death. But if a person becomes entangled in family life, then the Prabhupada says advancement for him is very slow or next to nil. And because you have so many problems when you get married, and the wife is demanding so many things, and the children are there, they're demanding so many things, and you have to have money. And brahmachari life, sannyas life is a very simple life. But somehow the mind tells the brahmachari that, the intelligence tells the brahmachari that it's better to stay brahmachari. But the mind tells the brahmachari, look at that man, he's a grihastra, he has a beautiful wife, and he's very happy. So better I become a grihastra. And then I won't have to be under anyone's control, and I can do whatever I want. Unfortunately, it's true, when you become a grihastra, then you're not under the authority of the temple. But sadhana slackens, and we see the grihastras, they can't come to the temple every day, they come once a week, once a month, or once a year, because they have to work, they have to get up and go to work every day, so they can't come to the temple, they can't hear the class, they can't chant their japa properly, so their sadhana goes down, down, down. One devotee got married, he said his wife was practicing Krishna consciousness very nicely before they got married, and he was practicing Krishna consciousness before they got married. Now they got married, have a child, and neither one of them are practicing Krishna consciousness nicely. So this is the problem that everyone is faced with. So the unsuccessful yogi is the Astanga yogi and the bhakti yogi. So there are many reasons why people leave Krishna consciousness, are not successful. Someone may get in a car accident, die untimely. So we don't know what his destination is, or if he was successful in Krishna consciousness. Or someone may get a disease and die at an early age. Or someone may, something may happen where a person dies at an early age. But if someone's able to stay in Krishna consciousness his whole life and follow the principles, Prabhupada said, if you chant 16 rounds, follow the 4 regular principles your whole life, then he said he would take us back to Godhead. He said he had the key to the back door, and that we should just hold on to his dhoti. But we hold on to the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada, and he could take us back to Godhead. So it's required that we get the causes mercy of Krishna and the causes mercy of the pure devotee, so we can get out of the material world, not have to take birth again. So this is the success of a bhakti-yoga, or a person who's practicing Krishna consciousness, that he can go back, doesn't have to take birth again. But even if one does, Krishna says in the Vikramana Shosti that there's no loss or diminution. If you practice Krishna consciousness, it's like you're getting a spiritual bank account. If you have a material bank account, at the time of death, it's finished. But a spiritual bank account, if you practice Krishna consciousness, 1%, 5%, 10%, that goes with you. And our Krishna is telling Arjuna in the following verses what happens in your next life if your Krishna consciousness is not complete. You take birth as a demigod, and then you come back in a positive situation, in a righteous family, aristocratic family, or in a family of transcendentalists, and then you can take up Krishna consciousness again and again and again until you can perfect your Krishna consciousness. So there's no loss. It's Arjuna wants to know if someone's a materialist or someone's practicing Krishna consciousness, if he's like a riven cloud, or if he's just doesn't gain anything. Because if someone's a materialistic person, he can have sense gratification. If someone's a devotee, he can't have sense gratification, but he may not be perfect his Krishna consciousness, so he hasn't got anything. But that's not the what Krishna says, that the devotee, there's no loss in our Krishna consciousness. Whatever we take up, whatever we practice in this life, will go with you at the time of death, with our subtle body, mind, intelligence, false ego, goes with the soul to his next body, his next destination. So we should be very careful not to commit offenses. And at the time of initiation, Guru Krishna Prasade by Bhakti Lata Bij, one receives the seed of devotional service. And that seed is in the form of a creeper. A creeper is a small plant. And when you have a creeper, you have to fence it in. Especially in Vrindavan, if you have a small plant, you have to fence it in so no wild animals will destroy it, the monkeys or the dogs or whatever. So that fencing is done by following the regulated principles and associating with devotees. Then, when the creeper starts to grow, you have to water the creeper. And that watering process is Shravanam Kirtanam. There's 9 processes of devotional service: Shravanam Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasham, Annam, Nivedanam. And so, the 9 processes of devotional service, hearing and chanting is the foremost. Hearing Shravanam Kirtanam. These are the most important activities. This is the watering process. So Rupa Goswami, Lord Chaitanya told this to Rupa Goswami in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, 19th chapter, that when you're watering the creeper, the weeds grow along with the creeper. And the weeds are the anarthas in the heart, where such things as fault-finding or duplicitous dealing or different unwanted things are there. Profiteering, Batista, all these things, wanting name and fame. These are anarthas, and they grow along with the creeper. Although they look like the creeper, they're not the same species. So if you're not a good gardener, the gardener's job is to take out the weeds and leave the creeper. But the gardener, if you're not a diligent gardener, if you're not careful, the weeds will grow, and then the bhakti, lata bij, the seed of devotional service, will get choked out. And that is why people leave Krishna consciousness. They lose their taste for Krishna consciousness. They lose their taste for chanting the holy name, and they leave Krishna consciousness. And some people even become Christians or Buddhists or this or that. But we know, those of us who are practicing Krishna consciousness, there's nothing more that gives you any satisfaction like Krishna consciousness. The soul that is Satchitananda, eternally full of knowledge and bliss. In the Christian religion, people are not in bliss. In the Muslim religion, people are not in bliss. In the Jewish religion, people are not in bliss. Only in Krishna consciousness can you go in the temple and chant and dance and be free from all anxiety and be happy. So one has to be very careful and be a diligent gardener and make sure that the creeper is healthy. Otherwise, the devotee can be pulled away at any time. And we've seen it that the advanced devotees who were sincere, trying to spread Krishna consciousness, were forced to leave the movement because they weren't diligent gardeners and weren't careful to follow proper sadhana and not to offend devotees and not to do everything that would be detrimental to their Krishna consciousness. So Krishna answers the question. Arjuna's question is, the question is what happens to the unsuccessful yogi? Does he perish like a riven cloud? And Arjuna is asking Krishna to answer this question because Krishna is his friend and Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and he knows everything, so therefore he can give the proper answer. And if people read the Bhagavad-Gita, read this 6th chapter, they'll understand what yoga is, what Krishna consciousness is, and they'll be able to take to Krishna consciousness. So time is up. We'll stop there. Anybody have any questions or comments? Yes. We have a microphone. Microphone.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Very nice. Bhuvaneshwara Prabhu, the question is this. If you take to Krishna consciousness, right? After you leave your body, you get a human form? Is that guaranteed or is...
What?
If you get a human form?
Yes.
You do? So what happened with Bharat Maharaj that he don't get a human form? That's the question.
Who? Bharat Maharaj?
He got a deer body, not a human form.
Yeah, but his consciousness was the same as he was in his previous life. He didn't forget Krishna consciousness. He's a special case, even in a deer body. It's like Daksha got his head cut off, and they couldn't find a suitable head, so they gave him a goat's head. But he still had the same consciousness that he had been with his previous head. So for certain souls, the consciousness goes with the soul. So he was a special case. But in most cases, the animals are in the mode of ignorance, passion and ignorance, not in the mode of goodness. It's in the 5th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam. Anybody else? Yes?
Prabhu, you mentioned that Maya helps those devotees who are serious in serving Krishna favorably. Of course, Lord Krishna says that Mama Maya Durateya, Mame Vai Prapadyante Maya Metam Taratite. It's very difficult to overcome my Maya. But is there some place where Krishna also mentions this point, which is very inspiring and motivating, that Maya will help or assist that devotee who is very serious in favorably serving Lord Krishna? Because I have also had this thought, which is a very favorable thought, but I never got a Shastric point to substantiate it.
Well, I'd have to research it, but Prabhupada's purports say that. But you have to think about it. He wants to know if there's any scriptural reference to my helping the devotee. You have to think about it. Over here. I'll think about it.
Thank you, Prabhu. You mentioned that in Grahastha life, somewhere, somehow, Krishna consciousness can get compromised. And sadhana gets like this, which is very true in my case. So what can one do? Because we are stuck in a situation now. Do you wait and constantly endeavor with some kind of sense?
He wants to know what Grihastha should do. You should practice Krishna consciousness. At the same time, you should maintain your family, but not be over attached to them, and should practice Krishna consciousness internally. But also you should understand, at the age of 50, one should retire from family life. Prabhupada says it's the greatest degradation if someone stays in his family life for his whole life. It's not meant that. At the age of 50 or so, one should take Vanapras and renounce sense gratification, and then after Vanapras, one should take sannyas. So if you're in family life, it's not permanent. It's not a permanent situation. You look forward to when the children grow up, the children can take charge of the wife, then you can leave home and practice Krishna consciousness more seriously. So there's still hope, as long as you stay in Krishna consciousness.
Prabhu, how we can distinguish between imaginary and uttamadikari, because you was mentioning how this devotee looked something stuff. This devotee was looking something stuff, and then he's not chanting in front of him, he looks like he's very advanced. So how you can distinguish between the imaginary and uttamadikari?
What's that?
How can we distinguish between a Madhyama Adhikari and a Uttama Adhikari? Because the example you gave, the devotee was not chanting 16 rounds but was a temple president and very inspiring to other devotees, but after a year he fell down. So how do we distinguish between devotees?
Well, you have to be a pure devotee yourself. You may not be able to distinguish what's internal, the internal consciousness of a person. It's very hard to distinguish. But by his activities, like Srila Prabhupada was always talking about Krishna, always engaged in Krishna conscious activities. So a person is not deviating, and we can understand his advance. If there's no deviation in his life, in his daily life. But we may not know that unless we are personally with that person. So it's difficult to understand, but generally someone's very advanced and his only business is Krishna consciousness. He doesn't have any other business. That's all. There's no business for anyone. Our only business is Krishna consciousness for everyone in this material world. So we know about Dhruva Maharaj. He went to the forest and he had material desire. But then when he saw the Lord, he said, I was looking for broken glass, but I found a valuable jewel. So that's the case where he was under the influence of Mahamaya, but then when he saw the Lord, he came under the influence of Yoga Maya. So Dhruva Maharaj or Bharat Maharaj, they may have seemingly fallen into Maya, but they were picked up by Yoga Maya. Different instances. Alright, Srila Prabhupada ki.
Yeah.